What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I thought I would do another watch head-to-head. This is between the Seiko Turtle and the Seiko SKX, two kind of staples of Seiko watches, two very popular dive watches from Seiko, and two different price points. And so, I thought maybe if people are trying to decide between one of these two watches, kind of picking which one is right for them, maybe this would help. I have all three of the SKXs, so I will probably bring in the 001 and the 009 to talk a little bit about it. But the crystal on my 009 is an upgraded crystal, and I have a different bracelet on this. Obviously, I have a NATO on this guy. But I just thought, for the sake of review, primarily I'll be comparing the 007 and the Turtle. This is the SRPC 23, but really it's just any Turtle. I mean, you can sub this out for the SRP 777 or whichever one you want, but this is the one I happen to have. So. This is also on an upgraded bracelet, so I will talk about that. This is Uncle Seiko bracelet. But none of the categories really involve the bracelet, just because it's something that, at least for myself, I can't think of a factory bracelet, maybe besides the 009 on the Jubilee that I actually wear on any watch. So here we go. So here are the head-to-head categories: case crystal, the bezel, movement, the dial, the wrist presence, the value, and the intangibles. Let's do some baseline measurements real quick, and then we will get into it. So let's bring in Mr. Scale. Let's see. Let's go ahead and weigh the 009 since this has the stock bracelet on it. So 4.8 ounces, and although this is an aftermarket Uncle Seiko bracelet, the original bracelet I'm going to say is roughly the same weight. So 5.4, so you have a little bit of a heavier watch in the Turtle, which is not surprising considering that it is a bigger watch. And to prove that out, let's go ahead and do this. So if we're looking at the total case diameter, we're looking at, let's see if I can get the actual full, right over 45. If we're looking at lug to lug, we're looking at 47.2, and go ahead and compare that to what you have here, which is 45.4. So the SKX definitely a shorter watch, and in terms of the case diameter, you're looking at 42 as opposed to 45. And if you're looking at the diameter of the bezel, we'll compare those two as well. If I can actually get these centered. All right, so 41-ish. I believe this is a 42 millimeter watch, and on the Turtle, 42.3. So definitely a bigger watch. Absolutely, you can see that side by side, but not crazily so. It's definitely bigger in terms of the width, but it's not a ton longer. The bezel, if you were to take the case from behind this away, these are pretty close to the same watch. So there you go. All right, so let's get into this. Case crystal. So both of these come with the mineral crystal. You can upgrade that if you want to. This is a sapphire AR coated crystal. A lot of people do mods on that. You can see the kind of Hardlex mineral crystal that they use does have its drawbacks. This is a scratch that I've picked up on the 007, but there you go. So this will really come down to the case. So the case on these is very unique. So you have kind of your baseline Seiko dive watch case here. So you just have basically the width of the bezel. You have these nice lugs here. You have a little bit of kind of a brushed versus polished on the underside. It's really not all that fancy. It's not super sharp lines there. But you have this nice case, nice screw down crown at 4 o'clock there, and you have the classic wave case back right there. So nothing too fancy, 22 millimeter lug width, but you have a very, very nice case that really exposes everything functional about the watch and not a ton more, which is a nice thing. And then on the Turtle, you have the very famous turtle case shape. So you can see why this watch gets the name Turtle. It looks like a turtle. You have this case that comes out further on both sides and obviously kind of more rounds into that lug than you do on the SKX. And then you have this nice undercut that is so hard to get in to video, but is so comfortable and so nice to wear. Maybe there we go. So you can kind of see that undercut right there. So while it is a much larger case, you have a very similar wave on the back there, Prospex logo. It wears very, very nice for the size. So I'll go ahead and throw both of these on wrist just so you can see kind of how they wear. So obviously wears, I guess I'll go ahead and strap this down. So obviously it does wear quite a bit bigger. And I'll go ahead and actually I can just throw this one on this wrist and strap this down. So you can see that. This one definitely on my wrist wears a lot smaller than the Turtle. However, the Turtle is insanely comfortable because of that undercut right there. But there you go. So if I had to give the advantage to one over the other, while I think that the Turtle is an insane watch in terms of the efficiency of the case and what they can do with such a large watch, I will give the advantage to the SKX just because it's more comfortable. It wears on my wrist a lot better. I think in general it just looks like a less bulky watch because it is. And so the Turtle wears the weight very, very well, but the SKX I think is my favorite case. All right, bezel. So very similar bezels you can see side by side. This one really comes down to the bezel action for me. So I'll turn this on. I don't know if this really helps at all. And then I'll turn this one. So I don't know if that told you anything, but hopefully you could hear. This is a much louder bezel. I think they're both 120 click unidirectional bezels, meaning they turn in just one way. But this one is very, the sound, the tactile feel and sound of this one is very nice. And if you hear that panting, that's my dog in the background, so sorry about that. But that is very, very nice. Whereas this one is a little clangy, almost tinny. However, for me, this one comes down to quality control and what is the more expected, dependable bezel and the easiest to use. So let me explain. So I own 3 SKXs. I have this one, I have the 011, and I have the 009. I own currently 1 Turtle, but I've owned 2 Turtles in the past. So I had one before this. When I compared this Turtle with the one I used to have, they had completely different bezels. This one is very, very stiff. It's very difficult to turn, I think. You know, if your hands are sweating or anything, it can be very difficult to grab onto because you do have the case right behind there that you're kind of working against. And so it can be very difficult to turn this where you almost have to palm it and turn it. And so while it is very satisfying when you do turn it, you almost have to dig your nail in there to turn it sometimes. It's just too stiff. My old Turtle was almost too loose. I thought it was the perfect bezel because it turned so easily and it had such a nice feel to it. But this one and the previous one that I have, which was a Save the Ocean Turtle, had completely different bezels. Now, I've had 3 SKXs. They have all had almost the same exact bezel. So I can turn all of these. Now, the J model definitely of the 3 has the most different. It turns the easiest and might be a little bit loose. But in terms of and I'm doing this with my left hand, so this is a little difficult to show. But in terms of the ease of use and kind of the dependability and reliability, shockingly, I've had a better luck with the cheaper watch, which is surprising to me. I would have expected the Turtle would be quality controlled a little bit better. But for me, I've had a better luck with the cheaper SKX, so I'm going to go with bezel there. All right, movement, easy win for the Turtle. You have a hacking and hand winding movement. I always screw up the movements, and I always mean to look them up before, but I believe that this has the 4R36 movement in it, which is hacking and hand winding. I guess I can show that real quick. So I can wind it. there, and I can hack it. Oh, not there, right there. So, easier to wind up, and so you don't have to do the Seiko shuffle. And, all around a better movement, more accurate. This is the, shoot, I can't even remember. NH35, maybe? I can't remember. Anyway, this is the same movement you have in a lot of Seiko 5s. You have, I think, the same movement that is in the SNK 809 or the SNK 800 line. But it's non-hacking, non-hand winding. I still think it's an absolutely fine movement. A lot of people hate on it, but I really haven't had that many issues with it. So I like it, but hands down, objectively, this is the better movement. All right, the dial. This one is pretty tough to compare because I don't want to compare like color versions or anything like that. Obviously, this one's a sunburst dial, but not all turtles are. So this one's going to come down to some details for me. So, if you've watched the channel at all, I love the SKX dial. It's a very, very nice dial. There's a lot of nice details, very nice chapter ring. You have very nice outlining over the loom right there. Just overall very nice. I like the handset. I think it's incredibly readable. That's the thing that I love about Seiko divers is they're insanely readable. But if you look at the turtle, and this is common across all turtles, there are a couple details that I really like a little bit more. So one, you have more depth on the dial. Look at the sword on the turtle right up here, if you can see that. You can see that that is applied as well as all of the loom dots here. Now on the SKX, you have some depth there, and I don't know if I can really get this. Let me see maybe if I can get it on this one a little bit easier. No, not really. You can kind of see right there. I don't know if they're printed on or if they're applied, but it's not quite the depth that you get with this. So you definitely get a lot more depth. They definitely at least look very much applied. And you also get some kind of puffy loom. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you look at the loom on the turtle, you get this very nice kind of bubbly loom, and it really plays off the light very well. And it's a weird thing to kind of pick up on, but I did definitely pick up on that when I got this watch. I think it looks very nice. You have a lot more kind of, I don't know, reflections of the light playing off of that loom, and hopefully you can kind of see that in there. And it just adds quite a bit of depth to the dial, whereas on the SKX, everything's more flat. You don't really have that. And so there's some shininess and some kind of, 3D texturing or something to that loom that I think gives it a very nice appearance. So for that reason, pretty much alone, I'm going to give the advantage to the turtle. Other than that, I think they're classic Seiko dials and that they're incredibly readable and very practical. All right, wrist presence. So this one's tough too because both of these I think wear very comfortably, and both of them look very nice. I think Seiko divers typically you can dress up and down pretty well. I think they work very nicely. They're kind of understated as opposed to some of Seiko divers. And that you can dress them up and dress them down. So for me, this one's going to come down to which one do I think wears on the wrist better, and I'm going to have to go with the SKX line for the same reason really that I went with the line for the case, and I think that is because this one, my wife calls this one my big watch. I have smaller wrists, but I think this wears pretty well, but it's definitely noticeable on the wrist. It's a lot clunkier. It's a lot heavier. I like that in a lot of ways, but it's definitely more noticeable on the wrist, and not necessarily because the watch looks nice, but more because it's just a chunkier diver. This one I think you can get away with. It's a lot more understated, but still looks very nice. It wears very well, and so I think for me at least the wrist presence is with the SKX line. That would be my dog as well. All right, value. She's looking at between $200 and $250. These are not made anymore, and so the prices will probably continue to rise. With the turtles, it's probably between like $250 and $300, just depending on which turtle you get. You could pay all the way up to $600, $700, $800, depending on if you're getting a limited edition or something like that. But in general, you're looking at, a little bit more expensive, but you're getting a better movement and whatnot. I think ultimately the Turtle is an insane value. I mean, honestly, I think both of them are insane values. If anyone's asking me where to spend $250, I'm definitely saying an SKX. I know that there are better watches you can get in terms of movements and accuracy and that kind of thing, but all things considered, I think you can't go wrong for this. But the Turtle is just insanely insane value, especially if you get one of the more basic, SRP 777s or something like that, where you can get a really good deal on it and get it closer to $250. You're getting a hacking and hand winding, very accurate movement. You're getting a bracelet that comes with it that is absolutely fine. You are getting a very nice dial. You're getting date. You're getting some of the details that I mentioned before with that dial right there. All in all, I think you're just getting an incredible value for that money. So I think while both of these are great value watches, the Turtle definitely takes it there. So that leaves us with a 3-3 tie, and it's time for the intangibles category, which is this one's going to be very tough for me because what I really want to do is I want to award both of these the intangibles, but I guess that kind of breaks the rules. Honestly, this is more of my kind of grab and go watch. I do wear this one quite a bit. It's just a great beater watch. You can see that I have definitely beaten this watch up. Scratched the bezel in a couple different places recently. So this watch gets a lot of wrist time. It is great, and a lot of that has to do with being able to wind the movement. For it to just keep on going. But the SKX line, to me, is just never going to be replaced. Like I said, I really like the SKX line. I just really love it. There's something about it that I'm just a huge fan of. And so for me, this is insane, and I think on paper, this should definitely be the clear winner. But because of a few things, I'm going to give the win personally, subjectively, to the SKX line, and that's really because the SKX line is no longer being made, and so it is a limited time in which you can get these. And so if I were going to buy one of these two watches, I would snag an SKX before you can't get them anymore. The Turtles, it doesn't sound like there's any chance that they'll be phased out anytime soon. And while they have released these kind of new, I forget what they call them. People are calling them something funny, the Seiko 5X or something. They have released some SKX looking watches. They are not this watch. They're not 200 meters water resistance. They don't have the charm of this guy. They do, I think, have a movement upgrade, but I love this. This is just kind of the old standard, very dependable watch. And so for me, you have some, basic options here between the 07, 09, and the 11. So you don't have quite as many options as you do here. But I think these have stood the test of time for a good reason, and you're not going to be able to get them for a lot longer. So value proposition, and if you want the most bang for your buck, absolutely go with a Turtle. I think that's the right option. But if you're looking at just which watch, if you asked Ryan would he tell you to get, I can't go Turtle over the SKX if these are going to be unavailable in a few years. I think everybody needs an SKX in their collection. So that's it for me. I know this is probably going to anger some people, but it's totally subjective. You could pick either of these and not really go wrong. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.